Okay, turds. We're going to do a Wiring Specialties Pro Harness unboxing. I did most of my stuff at Wiring Specialties through, I forget what his name is, Yuri, through Yuri. And they were pretty thorough with asking me which sensors I was running. And I gave them a breakdown of every Haltech sensor I was running on the engine. And one of the big things, so Pro Series, well, let's go through this real quick. Pro Series harnesses require a battery cable to connect to the starter for proper power up. The harness has a starter power pickup, not supply. I already ran those wires. So basically what they're saying is you need to run your own wiring to power the starter, and then the harness gets its power from the stub on the starter. And then installation guides are located on blah blah blah. The installation guides are real generic. It basically just tells you to disconnect the battery and then install the wiring on your engine and then install the engine in the car. That's pretty much it. And then we have our folder here of some stickers, and then the main thing that I really need from here is the pinouts. So here we go. So when you get your harness, you're going to get these, and these are telling you what all of the pinouts and wiring that they wired are actually doing. So when you go into the Haltech software, you can go to the air temp sensor, right, and you can set that up for the pinout that it's assigned to, which is AVI 7. Same thing with all of these other ones. The Elite, it'll tell you what the color code is for the standard Elite harness, and then it'll give you the pinout number for the optional stuff. A lot of the stuff that's in here is going to be already set in your Haltech software because it has generics in all of their harnesses that are sent to stuff like air temp sensor and coolant temp sensors and stuff like that, crank triggers and all that good stuff. So those will already be set, so you're not really going to need to set those in the Haltech software. But all the other stuff you're going to have are all going to be, you're going to need to assign those in the ECU software. So you're going to need to find, like for instance, I have a bunch of different Haltech sensors that I'm using. So you're basically going to find that function in your ECU software. Then you're going to select the output or input wiring. You're going to assign that wire from that sheet to that sensor. Then you're going to go into the calibration section, find that sensor per the part number for Haltech in that calibration, and then you can assign that specific calibration for that sensor and to that wire in the ECU. And that's how all that shit works. This looks like this is our harness, obviously. I had them send out some looms that still need to be terminated. Some of this stuff is for different sensors that I'm adding. So this looks like this is the, whoops. So this is the main harness that goes to the ECU, and then we have some relays here for the fuel pump relay. This is your normal ECU relay, so that's a general relay. And this is a separate plug. I think that's for, yeah, that's going to go to the ECU as well. And then these are coming off the ECU for some other things that I have going on. These are, I believe these three are going to, well, all of these are going to be going to, I have the Hall effect sensor and the, okay, so we have O2 input, analog input, low side output, low side. So these ones might not actually be used. And then we have this, which is for the can, so we don't need that. And then these are the plugs. Yeah, so this is the wheel speed sensor wiring. So I'll terminate this myself to the Haltech, and then this should be for the boost control. If we can find it. yeah, so that's the trim. So that should be for boost control. Is that for boost control? No. Oh, this is for the rotary knob that's inside the cab. And then we have the wheel speed, and then we'll grab some of these for the internal. And so we have the rest of our harness going out. So this will go over by the fuse panel. And this is for... Oh, okay. So this is for the check engine light, which we don't really need. Probably not anyway. But we can connect that to the function if we need to. It goes to the dash. Yeah, so this will go to the flex fuel. And this, I think, is the sub harness for our coils. Yep. And then we can run... Yeah, all this other stuff's going to go off that side too, because a lot of this stuff is going to the tranny also. It'll dump down. Yeah, let me have a separate power for that. So this is going to end up going to the starter, I believe. And then, yeah, cool. So this is the idle air control. So we're running a 2-wire Ford idle air control. And then the starter. So let's get all this stuff installed on the engine, and then we can plug that engine in. The first thing I want to do is make sure we can route this where we want to in the engine bay before we put this all on the car and find out that we can't get it where we want it to go. But pretty cool. What's crapping? Stop yapping, build some shit. So we got the harness on the 2JZ. It's okay. I mean, honestly, I thought it would be a little more tidy, and I had spoken to them specifically about routing and how I wanted things routed in the engine bay, and they kind of just did their own thing, which kind of sucks. There's a couple things that I wanted to be a lot cleaner, like the boost control solenoid they have coming over the top of the valve cover with the main harness, which is something I asked them not to do. The Haltech flex fuel wiring is too short by like 6 inches, which the dimensions I gave them were more than long enough. They just kind of made that a little short. Some of the stuff wasn't labeled. You know, they were supposed to give me some provisions for rolling anti-lag to send into the cab with the trim switch for Haltech. None of that happened, and they were supposed to wire up a radiator fan relay. So it looks like I just assigned the thermofan wire on the harness, so I'll have to run my own relay out of there. But I mean, generally, this is, you know, it's a nice harness. It should work really well. Everything seems to have the correct plugs on it. I just wish there was, you know, I kind of wish they would have. I went through a lot of trouble to send over, like, all the specs and everything I needed. I even sent over a video of the engine compartment so they could get an idea of that. But, I mean, even, like, the wiring for the reverse is, like, you know, 2 feet too long. But, I mean, it will work for what we're doing. We actually already had this engine in the engine bay, and I pulled it back out this morning. So the issues we ran into were clearancing the bubble for the starter. That was hitting, which I have already massaged in. And then also this coolant line up here on the back of the cylinder head, we need to figure out what we're going to do with that. What I think I'm going to end up doing is just running a coolant hose across, but I need to run it higher up and out of the way. The one that was back here was kind of running along the back, and we don't have enough room to do that here. And then the other little issue we had was just getting the shifter. The shifter actually lines up with the stock shift location really, really well. It's just that we need to cut that out inside the car to give us a little more room to move it around to get everything clocked right. And then the other issue we had is just I had to drop the cross member down a little to make it easier to clear the oil pan over the cross member. So we're just gonna end up, it should all work fine. But I want to get this thing bolted in here so I don't have to take it out again. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, the harness is really nice. It should work really well. It was just a few things that I was kind of expecting them to take care of, that I thought I had paid for them to take care of, that apparently they did not. So it kind of, I don't know, you go out of your way to make something look extra nice, we're trying to make all the routing and everything in here really nice, and now like stuff like the boost control solenoid that was supposed to have been routed straight out of the ECU so I could pop it out of that opening and come straight over to the boost control solenoid so I wouldn't have any wiring here at all, is now coming from the engine over, and I have to run it up this fender into the boost control solenoid. So now I have wiring going through here, which should never have happened. So, little things like that just kind of, what are you going to do? Send the whole harness back? They're going to have to redo the whole thing if they want to do that. So, it's not even worth it at this point. It just kind of sucks. But aside from that, everything should work really well. We're just going to get the motor back in there. We'll figure out where we want to route the harness through. I think we are going to have to just kind of route it through the top of that panel and then route it over to where the ECU is going to go. That seems like it's going to be easiest to do it that way. And then we can kind of keep moving forward from there. So I think I'm going to cut out the tunnel right now, and then we'll get the motor back in there and we'll finish routing all the wiring.